Okay, so welcome to our podcast, What's in the Box. It is a comic book podcast that features our collection. The idea of every episode is that my dad and myself will pull out a box from the comic room and we'll talk about the issues we have. My name is Ellie Eggleton. I am a comic book collector and writer. I have published 2 graphic novels set in the Power Punch Bootcamp universe with Aliro Arts, and me actually going on his podcast inspired my dad and I to create one for ourselves. Dad, how long have you been collecting comics now?
So I've been collecting comics since I was 12, and that was in 1975. I've had a couple of breaks, but overall I've been buying fairly constantly, so we have amassed quite a big collection.
We have, and currently we're actually cataloguing the collection using a comic book database website that I found, and I think we have probably catalogued about 10 CGC boxes and a few regular comic boxes, but we have catalogued over 2,000 items so far. What we thought we'd do today is we'll start with one of my personal favourite boxes, which is the X-Men collection. Now, obviously, Dad has been reading the X-Men longer than I have. Dad, how did you first discover the X-Men?
So back in the day, I would buy British Marvel weekly reprints, and somehow, I think it was from some friends or a friend at school, I got hold of whatever comic the early X-Men issues were in. So I managed to start reading the X-Men with a kind of a black and white reprint of X-Men 1 onwards. So the X-Men for me were Cyclops, Angel, Beast, Iceman and Marvel Girl. Mm-hmm. Professor X wasn't an X-Man. He was the founder, the person that guided them.
Their teacher.
I never like to hear him referred to as an X-Man.
Do you not? I didn't know that about you.
There you go. Something you didn't know about me. They are his X-Men.
His pupils.
Yeah, exactly that. So that was my experience. So if I can, I'm going to go forward to October 75 when I thought I'd start buying the American comics, which were obviously issued in England. Not all of them were issued, because if there was a weekly comic, you didn't get the American equivalent. So we had a Spider-Man comic weekly, and Amazing Spider-Man was not available in the UK. But in October 75, I bought X-Men 96, which I'm going to put out of the box.
Nice.
So here we go. Let's go forward to this book. There's 110, X-Men 96. There's my original copy, probably a bit battered. So I picked this up and I thought, who on earth are these characters? So looking at the cover by the great Dave Cockrum, I can see Cyclops and Professor X, some monster. And I knew Wolverine because I'd read the reprints of Hulk 180 and 181, and I really liked the Wendigo. I thought he was okay. So opening it up, I thought, who on earth is Nightcrawler and Storm and Colossus, who are here on the cover? And from memory, the splash page is about Cyclops talking about the death of someone called Thunderbird.
That's right, because I've recently read it in the omnibus, and I remember that splash page.
Okay.
But going back to the death of Thunderbird, see, I remember you telling me, when you're reflecting upon it once, that it was so sad what happened. But I read it, and everybody was telling him to get off the plane. I think even Banshee said, if you jump off the plane now, I can take it down with my Sonic.
Terrible, yeah.
And Thunderbird said no, and he stood his ground, and, it was a bit of an unnecessary sacrifice.
It was. So going one step backwards then. So I started to read the X-Men, and it was bi-monthly because the X-Men wasn't a popular title. It had been, I then discovered a reprint from issues 67 to 93. I didn't realise that 94 and 95 at that time were the return to the book of new stories.
Did we get new covers in that time for the reprint issues?
We had some new covers by Gil Kane and some old covers by the original artist. We have some of the issues, Ellie.
We do. We've
got
pulled
some of the
some
issues.
out. I remember actually going to a comic shop in Florida. I think this was when we went and the volcanic ash cloud hit,
Oh, crikey,
and we
yeah,
were
wasn't it?
stranded in Florida.
Yeah.
And we took a taxi one day out to, was it a Coliseum of Comics?
It was Colosseum. Yeah.
And I remember picking out a few of the reprints. One with was it Magneto on the cover?
So look, we got some. So we have 93. Sorry, we've got 88.
That's 88 is
with
the one.
Frankenstein. So that's an original cover, and
Yes.
you liked it because it's got Jean on it.
Yes,
It's all ripped and battered. This one.
it is.
We've got 89.
That's a pence copy.
So we got that in England then. So we probably only picked that one up in Colosseum.
I do remember.
Yeah, because of the.
I
as
think-
said, because of Jean.
Even now, the staples might actually be missing from the book.
I think so. I don't know. I think 89. It's not by Gil Kane. Might be an original cover. Might not be. Quite like it.
That is a homage
93.
or a
I
reprint.
don't know if that's a reprint of the cover. I can't tell who the artist is. Not Gil Kane. Anyway, sorry, just going back to what we were saying. So I continued to read the X-Men, which was bi-monthly. Really, really enjoyed it. And then in 1976, I went to a comic mart in London with a friend of mine, Colin French. Hello, Colin. I'm sure you're out there somewhere, mate. And I, by this time, knew from fanzines that
it's
the
the big
X-Men
one.
had been rebooted in a one-shot called Giant Size X-Men 1. And I found out that Giant Size X-Men 2 was Neil Adams' reprints. In England, Giant Size X-Men 1 wasn't distributed, so it wasn't available. You had to buy it from America or from there weren't any specialist shops, or a comic mart, which is where I got my copy from. Cost £2.50. There were 4 of them in the box, so I probably didn't have £10 on me. Wasn't a speculator. It wouldn't have been great to buy all 4.
Yes. How old were you then?
14.
14.
14.
And there's still so much love
Yeah.
for this issue today. I mean, recently I've really enjoyed picking up the special, the Giant Size X-Men.
Tribute to
Tribute.
Ween and Cochran.
Yes.
Fantastic, yeah.
And I've loved comparing now. I've compared it to the omnibus.
We flicked through it, didn't we? It's
We
lovely,
did, with the new artists, paying homage and tribute to the original comic book. It's great because me and Dad, we've both had, different sort of starts to the X-Men. When I was little, I really got into the X-Men through the character of Jean Grey. And it all started with, I think, a trip to Tesco and actually buying the Dark Phoenix saga on video.
Right, yeah,
And bringing that home, watching that, X-Men 90s
Yeah.
cartoon.
yes.
And then picking up the Marvel Legends Jean Grey action figure,
Yeah, which you still got
which I've still got, yep. And,
when you were 9.
9 years old.
Yeah.
And through that, I've just been such a massive Jean Grey fan. And at first, the original team was my favourite team as well. And one day, we went to a London comic mart, and that's where we actually picked up X-Men issue 3, isn't it?
So we did. So let's go backwards then. So you're right, at a comic mart, we picked up X-Men 3.
First appearance of the Blob.
Who would not want that? So it's in okay condition. What's nice about this is it's Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and in 2012 when we went to the London Super Comic Con, what did you do?
Well, we got the chance to meet Stanley, and Dad, my little sister Lily, and we each got a comic signed. I got X-Men issue 3 signed. Dad, you got...
I'm going to say it's Daredevil 25.
And my sister, Lil, she got a Life of Modelling with Millie.
Life of Millie, maybe?
Life with
Number
Millie.
11.
That's it. And Stanley turns to, his sort of agent / bodyguard who was standing behind him and said, I told you I used to write this. And, it could be potentially one of the only Modelling with Millie comics he's ever signed.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
But that convention was fantastic. At the time, my sister and I were publishing a fanzine called First Class Comic Review, and we remember there was Lil who spotted like a crowd on the convention floor, and people had gathered and we didn't know why, and it was because Stanley had come out to greet people. And, sort of starstruck, we followed him and bumped into his agent, where we handed his agent a copy of our magazine, and he invited us back the next day to actually interview Stanley. So my sister and I got to go on video and record our interview. Okay, well, firstly, have you enjoyed London? And have you enjoyed
London? Oh, I love London. London is my second favourite city, next to Los Angeles. My wife is English, so I used to come here a lot. I love it.
We saw a documentary about you. We saw your wife and we saw you. I don't know what the documentary's called.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Great power,
Great power, yeah. Stanley story.
Yeah.
Stanley story.
That's
Great
good.
power, that's the name.
Yeah.
You know why it says with great power?
What's the Spidey?
It's an expression with great power and great responsibility. See, I have a lot of responsibility.
How did you make up that saying?
I don't know, it just occurred to me while I was writing this book.
And then Lil's got a question.
How do you feel when other writers kill your characters?
How do I feel?
No, when other writers kill your characters, like Jean Grey and Gwen Stacy.
I'm sorry, if only I tried to feel like you like it. How do I feel?
When your characters are killed by other writers.
When they're so famous?
No, how do you feel about your characters that you created, that they're killed off by other writers?
Oh, that other writers do them? Well, I'm
that they
glad
killed them.
if other writers didn't do them, that there'd be no more characters, because I don't have the time to write them anymore. So I'm glad that other writers are doing them, because it keeps them going.
How do you feel if they die in the comics?
If some of them don't, well, not many of them have been dying lately, have they?
Not lately.
And even if they do, they find a way to bring them back.
Yeah, that's true.
By some miraculous way.
Girls, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Stanley, because we've got to stop now.
Okay, hey, it was so nice talking to you. What a pleasure. Such pretty girls.
Oh, thank you.
Are you sisters?
We are, yeah.
Well,
Take a picture.
Thank you.
Will, thank you.
Let's take a picture with you girls right here.
Dad, I think you were the cameraman or one of them.
I think I was. I was standing there starstruck, as I remember.
I think we had about
Stanley.
5 minutes with Stanley, and it was an incredible experience. He was just so nice.
He was fantastic, wasn't he? What a lovely man. He, all I could say was, "We love you, Stan."
He was
And he smiled.
exactly. He did. He was exactly how you wanted him to be, and yeah, and that's the how we got the signature on X-Men issue 3.
So that's X-Men 3. Often at Comic Marts, we would pick up early issues, and also from 30th Century in Putney.
Yes.
I know we got some copies. Maybe also from Ray Gunn in Richmond. We've got some old X-Men, so we have some nice ones. Number 9.
X-Men issue 9 is one that I really wanted, because I remember reading an interview with Stan Lee where he said this is the favourite X-Men comic that he wrote.
Fantastic.
And I do think it might be where Professor X hurls himself from the chair for the first time.
Is that to save Blob?
It's to
Beast.
save the
Not
Beast,
Blob,
is it?
sorry.
Or one
Yeah.
of the
Brilliant.
X-Men.
Yeah, fantastic. Nice Jack Kirby cover. Number 23 we have next. Action Lovers, this one's for you. Looks good.
Does look good. I'm just
Looks
trying
good.
to...
Porcupine.
Yes, I thought
Man.
so.
Plant Man. Is that Scarecrow? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, original Scarecrow. Can't remember this guy. Can't remember him.
What a cover, though.
What a cover. That's a good one. 27.
Re-enter the Mimic.
Re-enter the Mimic. Okay, so he's appeared before. That's a...
Mimic
I like the Mimic.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of remember getting this one as a birthday present or
Maybe, yeah.
a gift
Yeah,
rather than us picking it up at a convention.
Yeah, possibly. It's because it's that good cover of the Mimic, and there's Jean, good Jean cover.
It
she
is.
liked. Because this one's issue 30. Poor old Jean's kind of relegated to the background.
Gosh, they
Look at
haven't.
her back there. She's
And her
not
hair
in the
hasn't been
foreground.
coloured red either.
Not given the proper respect, maybe. Back in the 60s. 32 is a bit of a Juggernaut issue. Beware the Juggernaut, my son.
When we were cataloguing the other day, were we looking at Juggernaut appearances in Spider-Man?
We were.
And those, and apparently Juggernaut
80s
books
ones.
are quite hot at the moment.
Yeah. Have we catalogued these yet? We haven't.
No.
No. 33. It's quite nice.
33 I remember as the cover to X-Men Essential Volume 2.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. They were good, those black and white reprints, weren't they? They were great.
Really good.
35's got Spidey on.
Along Came a Spider. This is always a favourite because this must be such an early, team up with Spider-Man and the X-Men. I mean, I couldn't say if they'd met before this issue or not.
I think they might have done. I know in the early issues they invite him to join and he says, I'm a loner, and doesn't. That might have been a bit earlier. Going forward a bit, we have
New costumes.
great issue there.
Issue 39. New costumes, new thrills.
Yeah. 43's
The power of Magneto. It's got 10p written on it.
This is again an American 12 cents with a 1 shilling stamp on.
X-Men issue 46.
It's one of your favourites.
X-Men 48 is Cyclops and Marvel Girl. And when I was younger, I was obsessed with this issue. I've always liked the relationship between Jean and Scott. And this was, in a way, their first X-Men book, just the two of them.
Yeah.
So, no, this is a favourite of mine. I do remember, again, the splash page, and it's, I think, Jean Grey's modelling. And,
Rings a bell, yeah.
But no, great book, one of my favourites.
So 49, again, we got a comic mark. It's the first Steranko cover, although he doesn't do interiors. That's a great cover.
Fantastic.
And you can see the Jack Kirby influence, especially on Scott and Jean with
Their
the
poses.
really exaggerated poses. 50 and 51, when I was, again, back in the 70s, I asked my mum to get me a very small consignment from America, from an advert in one of the comics. And I ordered from that, for a birthday present, X-Men 50 and 51. So our postman, very kindly, to get it through a letterbox, folded them in half.
Yeah.
So I've got a battered 50 and a 51. On 50, you can see exactly where he folded it in half.
You
Brilliant.
can. It's almost in the middle of Polaris.
So, nice Steranko cover, 51. Another great bend in it, look at that, all the way through. Another Steranko cover. And he does interiors in these two issues, 50 and 51, which I think were written by Arnold Drake, who, of course, co-created the Guardians of the Galaxy with Gene Colan. So, all good stuff. And then we have all the Neil Adams issues, apart from one. So, again, when I was back in the day in the 70s, at a comic mart, they did an auction, and they had all the Neil Adams issues, apart from 56. So I've got 57 to 63 and 65, which are the ones he did interiors for.
Were they as individual lots, or was
No,
it
it's
as
one
one
lot.
lot?
Just missed 56, which I've never bought. They're looking pretty sharp condition. 57 looks,
Yeah, it looks really nice.
65's a bit folded there, but they're nice condition. And I really liked in the 70s Neil Adams, along with Barry Smith and Steranko, were really highly thought of. That, in fact, 55 might be wrong, but I think that's a Barry Smith cover. He does interiors to 53, which you don't have. I think that's his cover.
Nice.
Jack Kirby.
Yeah, you
Part
can
two.
tell. You can tell of the influence.
And then subsequently we picked up a last issue there of the series. Great cover, 66.
It is a great cover. The Hulk lashes out.
think it's by Sal Buscema. He certainly does the interiors, which is the one issue back then that he did. And then it goes reprint.
Yeah, and it sort of, brings us full circle.
Full circle. So at the Comic Mart in 76, I buy Giant Size X-Men 1 and 94 and 95, which I had already read. I'm pretty certain was supposed to be Giant Size X-Men 2. So if you read 95, I think they do a bit of a sort of a fill-in page-ish. Because like I said, this was supposed to be Giant Size X-Men 2, but instead they put it into X-Men 94. 94 is the valuable one. Mine's a bit battered. 95's better. And poor old Thunderbird,
Who you really liked.
who I really liked, albeit I'd only kind of got onto the X-Men in the issue after he died. So I read these, and what's really interesting, in a few issues after 95, someone writes in and said, thanks for creating Thunderbird, a Native American character. I'm Native American. It was great to have some representation. So why did you just kill him?
Yes.
And in fairness, Marvel, published a letter and can't remember their answer.
Do you think this is why later they bring back his brother? Or they introduce his brother, maybe?
Warpath. Maybe.
Could be.
Maybe. But Danny Moonstar, I can't remember when Warpath was introduced. It might have been after New Mutants, the Marvel graphic novel 4. Which features Danny Moonstar, Mirage, she was called, who's obviously Native American.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I can't remember when Warpath is reintroduced. I've got a feeling it was after that, but it might have been before.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
it was nice because obviously the X-Men were an international team, different countries, which is why they'd introduced Wolverine into Hulk as a Canadian superhero to bring him in the X-Men.
And it's just straight away as well, currently I'm rereading the run, and straight away they have their personalities, and I think even Storm, she's free, she loves the sky. I mean, it makes complete sense that then she's claustrophobic, she goes in a small space and she struggles. So straight away in this title, their personalities are there, and the character development is just so good.
It was really well written. I mean, 94, 95 were plotted by Len Wein, as I said, for Giant Size X-Men 2. He didn't have time to write it because he was on Hulk and Thor. And Chris Claremont apparently had been sitting outside the editor's office for days and hours
Yeah.
to get a gig, and wanted the X-Men, so they gave it to him. And of course, he had a tremendous run going up to 91 from the 75 start.
But go on.
Sorry, Ellie, I was going to say how disappointed I was when Count Nefaria effectively gets Thunderbird killed, then comes back in the Avengers.
That's not right, is it?
Soon after that.
It's not right.
Really annoying. Why would it do that? Brought back flipping Count Nefaria, but not Thunderbird. And that really annoyed me.
Well, I was going to say that a couple of years ago now, I was really lucky. I got to go to C2E2, a comic convention in Chicago. And when I was there, I got to meet Chris Claremont. And I remember lining up. I had a Dark Phoenix hardcover with me, and he signed the book. But I was also really lucky I got to chat with him about Jean and Phoenix. And looking now at X-Men issue 101, he told me that originally they had planned Jean's costume to be white instead of green. But the reason why they had to change the colour from white is because adverts would show through the page, or the next, page's panels would show through her costume, which is the reason why it was changed.
I think we've seen Dave Cochran's plans, haven't we, for
Designs, we have.
Yeah.
You have. I mean, that's what's so nice about, having the originals, but also getting collected editions like the omnibuses and the masterworks, because it does show, some of the original designs for the characters and also some original art pages.
Definitely. I mean, one of the things that struck me from these early X-Men was how great Dave Cochran was. I really loved his art. What a fantastic artist. Obviously, I'm going to say issue 108. He's replaced by John Byrne,
Right.
another great artist.
One of my favourite splash pages in this run is when Beast is carrying the Phoenix through a snowstorm.
Yes, yeah, 114 I'm going to say. Maybe, we might get some of the issue numbers wrong, but that's a fantastic page by John Byrne.
Fantastic
It might have
page.
been 115, I can't remember. Because the X-Men are supposed to be dead.
Yeah, that's right.
114, there's...
Is this after they fought Magneto?
You
Is
just read it.
I have. I cannot remember.
That was 102, I think.
I know, but then Magneto does appear again.
He does.
And I'm
you're right,
sure
yeah,
the X-Men
102.
get split in some kind of explosion. And this is
Yeah.
why, Jean and Beast believe the others to be dead, and they believe Jean and the Beast to be dead.
I remember that, and that was a slightly annoying story.
No.
The team thinks their team members are dead. Sorry, I'm just I don't know if by issue 106 X-Men was monthly by now. 106 was a fill-in by Bill Mantlo and Bob Brown. Back in the 70s, that was a real thing. You either got a reprint or a fill-in. These days, it just gets delayed. Doesn't come
does.
out. So
That's
I think
true.
I prefer a fill-in. Maybe
Yeah.
a reprint with a new cover, I don't know. But I prefer that to no issue at all. As
That's
is
a really interesting
the
point.
custom now, isn't it? Whereas today it's Bill Mantlo.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's plenty around. I'm sure you'd like to write some
of course.
Marvel. Ellie would love to write
Absolutely,
some
a
fill-in issues
fill-in.
for you. You don't have to delay anymore. Just let Ellie write you some fill-in
Oh,
issues.
well, that's true though. There's so many creators who would be
Yeah.
willing to give it a go. I mean, we must get the occasional fill-in issue, or
We do get some fill-ins, don't we?
we also
Yeah.
do get delays.
We get some fill-ins, it's true, but Bill Mantlo, he did some great stuff. I really like Bill Mantlo for his run on Peter Parker, where he creates Cloak and Dagger. There's a whole Spider-Man Black Cat story, which was great.
One of my sister's favourites.
Yeah, and also I used to read the black and white magazine Deadly Hands of Kung Fu from the 70s, and he takes over a strip called Sons of the Tiger, and from that creates the White Tiger with George Perez, which was great. Quite like things like Rom Space Knight and Micronauts in the 80s, where they're toy properties that Bill writes, and I liked him. Created
Well, what
Rocket
about,
Raccoon.
I was going to say, he's linked to the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, so Bill co-creates with Keith Giffen, Rocket Raccoon and Marvel Preview 7, and
Absolutely. And we have donated in the past to the
there
funds
is a
that his
foundation, isn't
family...
there? Yeah, so I'm sure that's still out there, so it's worth
We'll
going
drop a
online
link.
and finding that for Bill. He's one of the great writers from this era, and deserves our respect.
A favourite of yours, definitely.
Yeah, so 106 was a fill-in. I said I don't know if John Byrne takes over on 108 or 109, because 108's got a Dave Cockrum cover, but
Okay.
I don't know. I have to look at that.
We
Can't
will.
remember how.
Yeah,
I'm not going
look
to pull
it
it
up.
out because it's in a.
Marlighter.
Yeah. 109's John Byrne, where he brings in Guardian.
Oh, I loved that issue.
You like that? You said that was a favourite, didn't you? Yeah.
loved that issue.
Who, of course, from that they introduce. He's called Weapon. Look, it's called Weapon Alpha there on the cover,
Yeah?
but he's Guardian of Alpha Flights. 110 was a fill-in by Tony DeZuniga. I am not sure if I've pronounced that correctly. He was one of the, I think I'm right in saying, Filipino artists at the time, and was also great. We don't like this
Arcade.
guy. Arcade. Not keen, are we?
No, he's not my favourite
Look,
character.
still, sorry to
Good
interrupt.
cover,
Look, still a
though.
Dave Cockrum cover.
Yeah, it's
So
a
it
good
is John
cover.
Byrne inside with
Yeah.
a Cockrum cover.
Yeah.
We don't like Arcade.
No, not a
As I said to you the
favourite.
other day, we were talking about Arcade.
We were on one of our walks.
The character we don't like. We seem to talk about this guy too much.
I think that's because he pops up a lot.
Yeah.
Even recently, in the recent Nick Spencer Spidey.
You said that.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
appears. He's helping Craven.
Yeah.
I don't want to give any spoilers. I mean, I'm sure people
Haven't
have
read
read
it
it
yet,
by
so-
now, but I know you have not. So,
I don't
so
want
yeah.
any Arcade spoilers. But I think he first appears in Marvel Team Up, which Chris Claremont was writing. Might be wrong, but that's what I remember. I just want to make this point about non-distribution. It was really annoying back in the 70s really annoying. So you're reading your X-Men, you get to 101, great story with Jean
Yep.
coming back as the Phoenix and looking forward to 102. It's not distributed. Really annoying.
See, I can't imagine that because
Not available.
even now, I'm so lucky that if they say we miss a comic from our pull list, I do sometimes buy it digital.
Yeah.
You know, or if it's been delayed, I know I'm not getting it for a couple of weeks. I'm desperate to read it.
Yeah.
I will buy it on Comixology,
Yeah.
read it digital, and then wait for the actual physical copy to come. It must have been hard.
70s comic reader, you have to. I'm pretty certain by this point, so by X-Men 102, you're either buying these at comic marts, which are every few months, always in London, the ones that I went to.
How did you find out about the comic marts? Was it word of mouth?
Well, I only knew one guy at school that bought comics, so I don't think so. There were fanzines.
So you'd
Which
see
you
it in a
must have-
fanzine.
How did I find out about fanzines? I don't know.
It's just the time about
I
internet.
honestly don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how I found out about comic fanzines. Maybe I read, or we read, myself or Colin French, who I mentioned earlier. We might have read somewhere. There's a comic mart in London.
Yeah,
So we went. I probably then picked up a fanzine,
yeah.
thinking, great, this tells me all sorts of news about
Find out about
comics
future
and
events.
British they were, British fanzines. I can't remember if by this time in the 70s, they were in the 70s, there were comic shops. I remember going to London. They were fantastic. I don't know if it's Forbidden Planet. I don't know when Forbidden Planet opened. Maybe I'm misremembering this. I remember going into this shop and it was full of comics and comic stuff.
You think it might have been Forbidden Planet?
Maybe, but I think there were others.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know. I'm not sure Forbidden Planet's as old as I remember it. It's quite old. But anyway, 102 through 107, I'm going to say, were non-distributed.
Wow, that's quite a gap.
Yeah. So I've got 108 with 35 cents on it, but I think that one did come out in England.
Okay.
And then they were back again. And now I'm going to flick forward, Ellie,
Are we going
to
to
what
Saga?
then happens.
Yes.
By this time, there are specialist comic shops, and I used to get my comics from Books, Bits and Bobs in Kingston
Yes.
by one of the iron bridges. It's still there, or was last time I looked, but it's
Something else.
yeah, I think it became a costume shop, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, which it kind of was at the time, but it sold comics.
Yeah.
So I had to get my copy of X-Men 137 from there, because if it was double sized or an annual, not distributed.
So, had you read by this point the run up to the Dark Phoenix saga, including the issue X-Men 136?
No, because
No, not yet.
I stopped buying comics for the first time.
Is that because you were at that point saving for a house?
No, that came later. I stopped buying comics. I don't know why.
It's a regret that was luckily
a
made
regret.
up for.
I think it was when I was at, maybe when I was 16, 17, for no particular reason. Perhaps I was just reading, more books.
Yeah,
I was
back
obviously reading
issues.
books. Maybe. But anyway, I know it goes non-distributed again, sorry, just to say. It did also then go non-distributed again. So
Okay.
it comes back,
Yeah.
goes non-distributed again. Obviously, this still annoys me even now,
I know.
because I've got all these sense copies. Anyway, I don't know when I stopped, Ellie. I'm going to say about 121 I stopped buying comics.
So just before really
Yeah.
the Dark Phoenix saga. I mean, as a fan, if I was reading X-Men, as they came out,
Yeah.
and I had read, X-Men 134 when Jean Grey first becomes Dark
I
Phoenix.
think I did read some of those, Elle. I can't remember when I start again. I know I bought 126.
But I would just find it
know
very
that
difficult
when it
not
came
knowing the conclusion
I
to the
didn't know the
story.
conclusion. Yeah, so I bought 126. I know I bought 129. First Kitty Pryde.
First Emma Frost.
Sebastian Shaw.
Yep.
Top of it's a bit battered. I bought it from a newsagent.
It's a nice copy.
It looks alright. It probably
It
looks nice
does.
in the Myla
bag.
bag, but it's probably not that nice. I didn't get 130 at the time, first Dazzler. But then I do start buying again before 137. Can't tell you where, but I'm going to say 134. think I started buying in
First Dark
134.
Phoenix. 15 pence.
Yeah, we get 135, 136. What a cover!
One of my favourites.
I do buy 137. It's really battered my copy. It was the last
It's got
copy.
sticker damage as well.
Bits and bobs, sticker damage. It's all horrible, but you know.
Made up for it
It's
for
my
CGC 9.8 as
You
well.
do have CGC market, but this is my copy, which I'm never going to replace. Yeah.
And how did you feel at the time that, you know, Jean Grey is dead?
Well, I was a bit surprised because I think maybe I'm right in saying up to this point, I had read in the British Marvel reprints Amazing Spider-Man 121, and I remember looking at the first cover, because you got in the weekly Spider-Man comics you got half an issue, so the cover to the British reprint would have been 121,
Yeah.
and then it would have been a brand new cover drawn by a British artist for the next issue. But at the end of the next issue, she died. I thought,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe they just
It's a shock.
killed Gwen Stacy. Obviously, this was probably, 3 or 4 years after it happened, but I didn't know that had happened. I didn't know she was dead.
And
It
that was one of the most shocking events of early Marvel comics.
Yeah.
You know, to kill an innocent Gwen Stacy.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I guess from there anything could happen.
So anything can happen. So they then kill a founding member of the X-Men. She pretty much kills herself, as I remember, turns these Shi'ar guns on
Yeah.
her and dies. And a bit of a shock. I
It
think there
is.
was a tear in my eye, Ellie. at
And
the
then you had
time.
to suffer through Daredevil issue 181
Then
as
I'm
well.
certain, because obviously this is 1980. Daredevil, Frank Miller's come into a book that's gone bi-monthly. It's not doing well, and like X-Men, he built it into one of their big sellers. And they kill Elektra. Maybe that was just after, so you get a double whammy of Jean and this new character who you really like, Elektra, who he then kills off.
So
Anyway,
it's great because I pop up, in 1995
you
and
do
by
pop up
that
in
point,
95, yeah.
by that point, Jean Grey's back, Elektra, is she back?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
bring it back in the 90s. Before
Yeah.
that, yeah. So before your appearance, Elektra's back.
So I'm quite lucky that I didn't have to, live without these characters for too long.
Right.
Of course, then we do have Jean Grey's death again in new X-Men.
Yeah, Grant Morrison kills her off again, doesn't he?
But, since then, we've had some great comic books featuring my favourite character. I must confess, as a... obviously, I read all these on back issue, and for me, this sort of run of X-Men does end with X-Men issue 138. I'm not... And that is because I am such a big Jean Grey fan. I know it goes into Days of Future Past, which is a massive storyline, really well recognised. But for me, I've always stopped reading at X-Men 138.
I know what you mean. It does change. John Byrne leaves soon after that, and Dave Cockrum comes back, which was great. But I just want to pick up again on 129, because Kitty Pryde appears, and in 139 joins the X-Men as a character called Sprite.
So 10 issues later.
10 issues later. What's interesting is Marvel already had a character called Sprite from the Eternals, from Jack Kirby's run from the late 70s. And I think probably two things about that. One, in 1980 still, they are not using the Eternals. Jack's obviously left. Probably don't think they're going to revive the Eternals, so they reuse a name. Or it's a bit of a lack of respect, because Jack's 70s run was not highly thought of by everyone, and he was quite criticised, including by Marvel, which is really disappointing to this day that they would criticise the guy that co-created the X-Men, along with all the other characters we know he created or co-created. So there was already a Sprite. Whether Chris and John knew that, I don't know. Maybe the editor didn't know.
And apparently this Sprite is going to appear in the Eternals film.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Apparently so. I think
Okay.
I think they've been cast. Obviously the film exists, doesn't it, somewhere in the world. We're just waiting to see
At
it.
some point.
Yeah. So
Nice
so, yeah.
to see that Jack's getting the respect he obviously deserves.
I think that's changed so much. I mean, I remember
Definitely.
reading different Marvel comics, like biographies.
Yeah.
And, I remember there was this time where Jack Kirby, you're right, he went back to Marvel. He wasn't respected. Some of his actual pages were being used to keep doors open, apparently.
Shocking.
And so now I think, a complete U-turn. Most people, if not all, love Jack Kirby, which, we certainly do.
Very proud to say I always loved Jack Kirby. Didn't have that ridiculous feeling. I quite liked some of his comics when he came back. The Eternals was a good one. The Eternals was good. I liked his return to Black Panther. Not everyone did because of the fantastic Don McGregor run in Jungle Book, but it was just different. It was just by a different creator. So
Yeah.
we're all used to that. Different writers, different artists.
What, oh my gosh, my dad's just pulled out the Uncanny X-Men 165 where Storm is transforming into a brood. It's quite a hideous cover, that one. I like the splash
Paul
of
Smith.
orange and the yellow. It's
It's
good
just a
art.
creature.
It's just,
It's funny, I've just...
yeah.
Obviously, the Brood Queen looks like an alien.
Little bit.
Last night, I watched it. I watched Alien,
You did.
the classic from 1979,
Yeah.
and Brood Queen or Brood or whatever that is. There looks Storm Brood's horrible. Looks a bit like an alien. Great big head and
Yeah.
anyway, I quite like the Brood story. Paul Smith has now joined. Might be his first issue actually. I know he takes over from the departing Dave Cockrum again.
That's quite an iconic cover. The
164.
Uncanny X-Men 164.
Binary.
Yes.
Binary, yeah. So Ms. Marvel, Carol Danvers, has become binary and she's up in space. Probably her first appearance. She was in the X-Men at the time because Chris Claremont had been writing Ms. Marvel. Obviously liked her and
Took
brought her
her
into
to
the
the
X-Men,
X-Men.
probably because she wasn't being used. I look, this Brood going all the way back
Yeah.
to 162 there. And
I mean, one thing I do want to catch up on, you and I were talking about this the other day, is the whole story with Madeline Pryor.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've suddenly become really interested in this story. I remember when I was little collecting the X Factor, and in issue 1, Cyclops is married, they have a child, and then of course soon she becomes the Goblin Queen. And then I recently went back to Matt Fraction's run on the X-Men and read her as the Red Queen from issue 500. That is, the whole Madeline Pryor collection is something I'd love to see Marvel publish as a graphic novel, from her appearance in the Uncanny X-Men to X Factor and then to today.
Goblin Queen.
Goblin Queen.
Goblin Queen, yeah.
It would be nice to see,
Yeah.
a trade paperback or something come out.
I remember her coming back, or, this whole thing, is this Jean?
She does wear the Dark Phoenix
This Dark
costume.
Phoenix costume, and I can't clearly remember, as I was saying to you, and I'd like to reread again, but there she is on the giant size 175.
Yeah,
Can I backtrack for 1 second?
you
I'm
can.
going to sound like a broken record.
Is this
Wow.
about non-distribution?
Yes. So we were talking about the end of John Byrne.
Yes.
So 141 comes out. Future Story, Days of Future Past,
Yeah.
great. They're all dead on the cover,
Oh,
apprehended,
careful.
slain. I think I've just bent 141.
You might have
there,
done.
So when you're doing this, everyone, please be careful. Don't just drop them all like I nearly did. Yeah, so on the cover, it's a great story, future story. This is what could happen. It's an older Wolverine, an older Kitty Pryde. 142 is not distributed.
I'm not, yeah.
Nor is
it's
143.
difficult.
Because Marvel are trying to catch up. So we in England, Britain, got these 2 months later than America.
Yeah.
They did a catch up, so we didn't get 2 issues.
Wow.
The whole Marvel range.
Yeah.
So next one we get, we're reading 141. The next month,
Yeah.
literally next month, on the stands is 144.
I can see
How
how
annoying is
non-distribution would have been a difficult
Drive you
thing for
nuts.
a collector here in the UK.
Yeah, you can see that I've tried to get ahead by my 144 is an American copy, 50 cents.
Yeah.
Man Thing. Is it Man
Oh,
Thing?
of
I think that's
course.
Scott. Yeah, there it
Your
is.
favourite.
Brent Anderson did the art. Yeah, one of my favourites, Man Thing. I love Man Thing.
Excellent.
Yeah, but so as a result of that, sorry, I just want to conclude this non-distribution anger with the fact that I've never read Days of Future Past all the way
No.
through. I've never read 142. I've got it.
Need to
I've
read
got
it.
Do you know what? I'm wrong. I think 143 did come out in the UK.
I love that
Might
cover.
not have done, but
I really love that. The
that's
Christmas
her
tree
telling
in
the
the
story,
background.
isn't it?
It is.
Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. 142 didn't. 143 might have done, but
Yeah.
maybe I got it from a comic shop.
Yeah. No,
But
excellent.
not 142. I've never read 142, so I need to now read 141 and 142
You
together.
do. It's so fun to look back at this box and to appreciate the comics we have, but also to point again towards the collected editions, the omnibuses, the masterworks, the essentials, and the epic collections. Early X-Men stories, whether that's Stan and Jack's run, or Claremont and Byrne. They really are worth going back to pick up to read.
Definitely. When you were little, we used to buy the essentials, which were fairly cheap and had loads of comics, and I was used to reading black and white reprints anyway, so...
I'm amazed that we didn't colour those in, because obviously as a teacher, I teach
could've
5 and 6 year olds. I've taken manga in, like a little Pokemon manga from Free Comic Book Day. I've taken that in, and I have found pages coloured in in the classroom.
That's nice. I would have had no problem if you coloured in your essentials, but...
Well, and also it's also like the range of adult superhero colouring books. I know I've got a
Yeah.
Batman Hush.
Yeah.
I mean, essentials.
Why not?
Why not?
Colouring books. Good reads as well, though. But you're right, all these collections, in whatever format they're reissued in, are great to read. Plus you
Absolutely.
can go online, which is something that I'm not used to, but you've done some of that, haven't you? You've done a bit of online,
Comixology?
as you said, yeah.
Little bit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
you've
my
done a bit.
favourite way
No,
to
I'm
read
not.
comics, but I mean it's good for travel if you're whenever we can travel again.
Yeah.
It's good you can take the collection with you. Oh, that's a brilliant cover. My dad's just pulled out X-Men 181, Lockheed versus a dragon, Young Dragons in Love. We need to have a look at that one of me.
Who's that guy in the corner? Is that Professor X?
I
Down
can't
there?
say.
What a weird corner panel.
But what we'll do is we will show some of these covers when I sort of go back and edit this podcast. We'll show some of these great
174's
covers.
Madeline and Scott. That's don't know who that guy is. Is that Mastermind?
Jason, yeah, that's Wingard.
Yeah, Mastermind.
Always meddling.
Always meddling. So we have a run then from 93 up to 215 when I stopped buying comics, because my wife and I were buying our first house. So I
Yeah.
stopped buying in 86, started again in 91. Some of these I then bought on back issue 221, 222, 237. I think we might have the first Mr. Sinister here. Might have 238, 239. I think he's first appears in there. Jim Lee's first X-Men 248 I bought on back issue, and I started buying X-Men again with issue 275, giant size. Jim
Very
Lee cover.
cool.
Yeah, nice Jim Lee cover. And then I went back and eventually bought his run, which includes that really nice 268 cover.
With the Black Widow, Wolverine and Captain America.
Bit of a classic.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is a cover that I do see, homages to today. There are new variants coming out. And I think recently for the X-Men Legends, that's what the new X-Men book's
X-Men
called,
Legends,
isn't it?
there's a homage, isn't there?
There is,
You're right,
with
yeah.
Jean, Havoc and Cyclops.
Yes,
Yeah.
good cover. I think Jim Lee said that's one of his personal favourites.
Yeah, I think I've read that. I
Yeah.
do. I think I've heard that.
I like it because everything's in the foreground. There's not much background. Just in the background, you can see some buildings. Little pylon there, but yeah, everything takes the eye to the foreground. It's very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
absolutely.
This box finishes with the. It finishes with 283, 282 being the first appearance of Bishop.
Oh, wow.
I remember that whole Bishop Cable Hope
Yes.
stories from 10 years ago, which
Brilliant.
you bought and read, and I read from your collection on trade. And fantastic story.
Really good storyline.
Really
And again,
good.
that was, as I've been reading Fractions X-Men, there's a page or two where Cyclops is expecting Cable to bring Hope back to the present day, and he's building a nursery. He's expecting Hope to come back as a baby, and obviously we know that she ages,
Yes,
she
comes
becomes
back
an
as
adult.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was That was a good story.
I like this cover, 281 by Will Portasio, who goes to Image along with all the other guys that we know about. Good cover.
That Gene Storm and Colossus. I mean, to me, it looks very much like Jim Lee to me. That does.
Yeah. He's a bit of a Jim Lee guy, I guess.
Yeah, good covers.
Yeah.
And a great box. I've really enjoyed.
Good box.
Spending 45 minutes chatting about our early run on the X-Men, and I think we're hoping to do a second episode of this podcast.
Let's do it. That was good fun.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing what box we pull out from the comic room next.
Absolutely. Might have some Man-Thing
Let's hope
content.
so. I hope so. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this chat as much as we did. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.